Today we're going to explore Donner's DST range and help you make an informed decision on which one of these is right for you if you happen to be shopping around and you're in the market for something a little bit different. Shootout videos like this are extremely important because shopping in any range of guitars from any brand is going to be a little confusing. You may not know what the difference is, why you're paying more, why you're paying less for something, and that's completely understandable. Even experienced players like myself kind of get confused sometimes. So whether you are experienced or just starting out, I think this is a very beneficial video for everybody. So just a couple things before we get started. We're going to start at the bottom of the range numerically. So DST 80, for example, is where we're going to start. We're going to work all the way up to the DST 700. So we're going to try to make it cheapest to most expensive, but it may not always be that way. The prices on these things fluctuate all the time, and there are constantly sales going on. And if you use the code Flamingo at checkout, if you decide to buy any one of these, you can get 15% off of your order. So there is that. Secondly, this video is sponsored by Donner. They did send all of these guitars out to the channel over a period of time, and I do have individual videos on all of these guitars. So if you want more information, more playing clips, things like that, there are links in the description to each of those videos. And third, and perhaps most important, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it and it helps keep content like this coming. So thank you very much in advance. Like the video, leave me a comment, tell me which one of these is your favorite. With that being said, let's go ahead and get on to the first guitar. So the first guitar we're gonna look at today is the Donner DST 80. This comes as a pack. Future Jonathan here. I did not mention this in the initial review, and you may have noticed something strange about that first initial drop shot. Didn't have any strings on the guitar. Here is why. After I did the initial review, I went to change the strings, and after I did this video too, I went to go change the strings on the guitar. And I found this. The claw on the back of this brand new DST 80 is rusted, and I mean rusted badly. And again, I didn't know about this from the initial review, but I wanted to point this out in the full scope of honesty. So again, take that as you will. Aside from that, it is a pretty decent guitar. This comes as a pack for $179. Again, this is the listed price, not the sale price. If you use the code Flamingo at checkout, you can get 15% off that already discounted price. So I'm just going based off of what their retail list price is, not any sales that they may have going on at this time, because that's not fair, right? But anyway, back to this. So this does come as a kit. So you obviously get a guitar. They come in a bunch of different colors, just this pickup configuration. So 3 single coils, but you do get a couple of different color options here. You get a dust cover bag, which is just a really thin gig bag, but you do get one of those just in case. It does arrive safely, as do all of these guitars. They are packaged very, very well. You do get a bunch of other things with it. You get a strap, you get a tuner, you get a trim arm, you get, picks, strings, you get a lead, which is a guitar cable. You also get a 5-watt mini amplifier. In fact, there it is right there. It runs off of 9-volt power or a 9-volt battery, which they do give you the battery. Volume all the way on 10 on the little amp back here, the little GT2 mini 5-watt, whatever it was called. So for under $200, this is a great beginner option. Or is it? I don't really think I could recommend the DST 80 to a beginner, and I'll explain why. So first and foremost, this is a very heavy guitar. That's a personal preference. Me, I don't really care about heavy guitars. I like them. I kind of actually prefer them sometimes. But this one kind of surprised me about how heavy it was. This thing probably is closer to about 9 pounds, which is pretty hefty for this style of guitar. Another issue that I had is when I took it out of the box, I tried to plug it in and I wasn't getting a signal. And I wondered why. Well, I had to flick the switch to maybe knock something loose, something like that. So I thought there were electric issues, but I've not had any of those anymore thus far. Coming up to the neck is a big old chunky neck. Again, that's a personal preference, but for a beginner, they may find that a little harder to mess around with. Again, I prefer kind of a chunkier neck. This one actually surprised me because it's the chunkiest of all of the necks on all the guitars that I've had. And again, personal preference, but it does feel nice if you are used to that or if you have bigger hands. And the tuners are not the greatest. They have a little bit of play in them, so they are a little harder to get tuned, which is not good. Now again, This is a very affordably made guitar, and for $179, you're getting a whole pack. So you gotta imagine how much they spent to actually make the guitar itself. Now, the guitar is pretty well made otherwise. It does have some scratchy frets, which are pretty easily remedied. The fret ends are not sharp, which is a great plus for something in this price range. And me personally, I think that this is a better mod platform for somebody that's a little more experienced, or if you want to learn how to fix guitars or mod guitars. I think that the DST-80 is a great option. Plus you get a little amp. It doesn't sound the greatest, but you have an amp around, and then you got a bunch of accessories. I think that's kind of cool. Next up is a guitar that I can recommend for beginners from Donner's DST range. This is the Donner DST 152. So this one comes in a couple of different color combinations. This is where you're going to see a little bit more variety than you will with the DST 80. So this one, you have things like different color options for the bodies. You have a gloss finish, as you can see there. This one I think is the classiest looking one and probably my favorite. Black body with the tortoiseshell pickguard maple fretboard. It just looks really classy, really nice. It does come with a trim on it, as did the other one, but again, for beginners, I would recommend not even bothering with the trim. I would maybe get somebody that's a little more experienced with setting up guitars to look at it and make sure that it actually is set up to play, because how the trim is set up can affect how you play on the guitar, but I digress. Another difference that you're gonna see on the DST 152 versus the 80 is the pickup configuration. So it's still the same basic premise here. You have a 5-way switch, 1 volume, 2 tone, but you have a humbucker in the bridge with 2 single coils up here. So that's an HSS configuration, and you get the ability to pull up this tone knob here and split that humbucker, adding to the versatility. So that's really, really nice to have. You can play around with different tones, all that kind of stuff. The neck on this one, aside from it being a maple neck, that's again a personal preference. Going back to the neck size and shape, which is also again a personal preference. This one's thinner. So I think a beginner will benefit from using this one if they have smaller hands, or if they've kind of messed around with some guitars and realized that they like thinner necks. That's really the best way to do it, is to just try some other guitars first and kind of get a feel of what you think your favorite neck profile is. Again, no sharp fret ends on this. It is lighter. It's much, much lighter than the DST 80. I forgot to mention that. Coming up to the tuners, I think again, this is the weak spot. These tuners are different kind of tuner. They are the Clouson style tuners, or they're more vintagey. Again, they have a little bit of play in them, so tuning stability can be hit or miss sometimes. Once you kind of get it all set up and you get the string stretch and all that kind of stuff, it does stay in tune for the most part. But if you're gonna make any upgrades to the DST 152, I would highly recommend taking a look at new tuners, which you can get some from like Guyker, for example. I have an affiliate link in the description, go check that out. And I think I have a code down there too to get you a little bit off of that if you would like to get some tuners for your new DST. With the DST 152, this is also a kit. So you get a really nice gig bag, much nicer than the one with the DST 80. You do get a bag of goodies like a trim arm and all that other kind of stuff. Except with this one, you get a much smaller amp. So this is the Donner DA10B. I do demo this amp on the full video of this, which again is linked in the description. So that's the DST 152. Let's move to the next guitar. Next up in the range, we have the Donner DST 200. Now, you don't get as much with this for what you spend. You really just get the guitar, you get a nicer gig bag, you don't get an amp or anything like that, but you do get a baggie of little goodies and things like that, strap, cable, you know, I think some picks, all that kind of stuff, some adjustment tools, which come standard with all of the guitars. But this one, you get less color options. That is one thing. You get this, it looks white on camera, but it's like a shell pink color because obviously. And you do get a void black, which is like a blacked out version of this. This is from the designer series. The DST 152 we just talked about was from the standard series. This is from the designer series, which again, there are the series built into this model range here. Very much similar to the DST 152 that we just looked at. You have HSS configuration, you have a trim here, 5-way switch, 1 volume, 2 tone with the ability to split this humbucker by pulling up on that tone knob. The trim on this one is about the same as the other two that we talked about, maybe a little bit better. No electronics issues or anything. Very lightweight again, as I mentioned. The neck on this one is noticeably better than the 152. Is it like spades better? Not necessarily, but it is better. Again, no fret sprout on this one. It's a thinner neck, as I mentioned before. It's a bit smoother than the other one, the 152, but again, very much playable as the 152 is. Something that is a win on this one is where you start to see when you spend a little more money is the quality of the tuners here. The tuners are, again, these like vintagey looking tuners, but these are better than the ones on the 152. I don't know if maybe the ones on that one are just bad, like not maybe from a bad batch. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but one negative that I will say about this has to do with the headstock. So on this one in particular, there is some finish checking on the headstock, and I talk about why that happened in the full video on this. Essentially, it's because it was very, very cold outside, brought it into my house, which was very, very warm, and took it out of the box too soon. But again, I talk about all of that in the full video on this thing, so if you wanna go check that out, there's a link in the description as always. But again, this is probably one of my favorite DST guitars, at least one of the affordable ones, because I mean, it just is a really nice guitar. Feels nice in the hand, kind of lightweight. You have the versatility of the HSS configuration, all that kind of stuff, and it just looks cool. So there is that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next guitar. So these next three guitars are kind of like the creme de la creme of the DST range. If you have a bit more money to spend, this is where I suggest you start. With something like the DST 550. This is probably one of my favorite guitars that Donner offers. Probably my favorite guitar that they do offer, and I'll explain why here in just a second. This is the first one that I've ever checked out from Donner, and the first video that Donner ever sponsored for me, so thank you guys very much for doing that. I love this thing. I play it almost every single day. It's featured in a lot of my videos for good reason. So as far as like the body weight goes, let's start there. Body weight, it's about medium, so it's pretty comfortable for most people if you prefer a lighter guitar. You do get 3 different color options here, this beautiful silvery blue sparkle kind of finish here. You have a black finish and then you have a white finish with, I believe, like a, I don't know if it's an anodized like gold pick guard or whatever, but that looks really, really cool. Probably my second favorite color out of all that. HSS configuration, you have 1 volume, 1 tone. You do still have the capability to split the humbucker via this little, let's put it into single coil mode here in the bridge. So we're splitting the coil. toggle switch right there. 5-way selector switch for the pickups there. I'll just play the dang thing. The trim is where this thing shines. You get a 2-point, more modernized kind of tremolo here. I do a tremolo test on the full video of this, and it's very, very stable. Very easy to set up, very stable. Really, really like that. It's hard to find usable trims on more budget-friendly guitars. Let's give it a little bit more gas, shall we? Still in tune. You get the truss rod adjustment right here at the heel of the neck, which is nice because you don't have to go and take off a truss rod cover or anything to make the adjustment. It's right there. You get a really nice gig bag with this. You get all the adjustment tools that you need. So you're getting a little less each time, but you're getting the necessities, right? That's all you really need. Roasted maple fingerboard and roasted maple neck. That's another big difference on this one. Really, really like roasted maple. It's one of my favorite necks to play as a roasted maple neck. The fingerboard, it just looks really cool. You get things like the heel recess cut here. All of these are bolt-on, by the way, I didn't mention that. But you get like the heel recess cut here, so it makes upper access to the frets really, really nice. Really nice nut here. This is from the Versasonic series. I didn't mention that before, but Versasonic series, they do have a couple of guitars in this series. And then another addition that a lot of people really like, locking tuners. What does the locking tuner do? It just helps with string changes, makes them a little bit faster. Pull the string through, lock it, tune it, you're good to go. People will argue that it helps with tuning stability. I don't think it does. I've not really seen evidence otherwise that it does, but to each his own, right? So the DST 550, one of my absolute favorite guitars that Donner offers. Again, I have a full video on this down in the description. Next up, we got the Donner DST 600. Now, don't let this one fool you, because you do have another option that's fairly similar to this with a couple of notable changes. So obviously we have this one in this beautiful like Fiesta red, kind of vintagey looking red, really. Absolutely beautiful, almost looks orange. Then you have another option, which is a tobacco-y sunburst kind of finish here with HSS pickups and the ability to split that humbucker. That's really the only difference. So that's where the differences end. Everything that I say going forward about this guitar will apply to that other one, just with those notable differences. So again, beautiful color here. Absolutely love this. Very traditional, 3 single coils. You have 1 volume, 2 tone, 5-way switch, vintage style 6-screw trim, which I kind of talked a little bit of dirt on that in the earlier ones, but this one is a really, really good one. Thanks most in part to the big block on the back here. It's a big thick block, so the sustain, the resonance, the tuning stability, all that kind of stuff is gonna be much better on this one. It weighs a little bit on the heavier side, I will say. If you're in the market for something like a Squier Classic vibe, by the way, this is kind of like on par with that. So that's kind of what this is going for, competing with. So very traditional back here on the heel right here. It's a big blocky heel, but upper fret access is nice. The first one of the bunch to have a finished neck. So it's got like a vintagey tint to the neck. As you can see, it looks kind of yellowy back there. It's kind of thick, not really, but it is, again, very traditional, maybe more akin to like a 50s-esque kind of thing. No fret sprout, plays absolutely beautifully, and that's coming from somebody that doesn't really care for finished necks. Your truss rod adjustments up here, this is where we start to see the vintage elements of it. So again, you can see they're like these kind of Clouson style tuners here, but we have the split posts up here, which these are really, really nice. These are some of my favorite tuners. It's a great vintage design. You stick your string right down in there, you wrap it around the post, you tune it up, and it is good to go. You don't need to do any kind of weird luthier locks, which you shouldn't do that anyway. But yeah, man, all around, if you're kind of a traditionalist, or even if you want something with a vintagey feel and you want a humbucker in the bridge, you got options. You got options. They both are stellar. And the DST 600 kicks a lot of ass, and it's a really nice guitar. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last guitar in our lineup, the DST 700. This is the most expensive guitar that you can get from Donner, clocking in at $600. When it's not on sale, that's their retail price, but it's worth every penny. And really, you have that code Flamingo when you go to check out, you get 15% off your order, including this thing. This is another one from the VersaSonic series, and it's an absolute beast. Now, again, you do get options with this one. So you have this beautiful brown mahogany beauty right here, and then you have one that's a green finish. I believe it's still a mahogany body with an HSS configuration, the ability to split that humbucker, and you have a roasted maple neck. So really, those are the only differences with that. It's all cosmetic. It's all kind of the same deal. So let's talk about this one a little bit more here. So again, mahogany body, mahogany neck, rosewood fingerboard. You get two humbuckers on this one. They're tone design humbuckers. Never heard of those, but they are really nice. They're really clear, really high output. I dig them a lot. Three-way switch on this one, one volume, one tone that does coil split. The tremolo on this is like a brushed nickel. It's really, really nice. The 2-point trim stays in tune superbly. Again, thanks in part to the big tremolo block on the back here, sustain, resonance, all that stuff, good to go. It's absolutely beautiful. Modern-esque features here with the comfort carve away here on the horn, and then the heel is nice and curved, so upper fret access is a dream. You have the truss rod adjustment down here at the heel of the neck as well, so you don't have to go take off any covers up here. Really nice. Rosewood board, mahogany neck again. The neck profile, very small. It's a very small neck. It's a shredder's dream. It's not thin, it's small, like width-wise, like that. Very small, but it's very comfortable. I like it. Most people will get along with this neck. Bone nut, I believe. Again, up here it says VersaSonic series. And then you get the locking tuners on the back, pretty standard once you get up to more expensive guitars. So this guitar is the most expensive one, but it is one of the best if you're looking for something of this maybe cosmetic setup or this pickup orientation, things like that. It's a really nice guitar. I'm really, really stoked about this one. So there you go, guys. There is the Donner DST lineup. You have very affordable kits all the way up to just the guitars by themselves. One thing I forgot to mention about the DST 700 and maybe even the 600, you still get the same nice gig bag, no amp or anything, but the basic setup tools, all that kind of stuff. You do get that with that as well. Which of these guitars did you like the best based on what you saw, what you heard? If you've played any of these guitars, tell me which ones you've played down in the comments, or which one kind of tickles your fancy. Which one did you like the most? Again, full videos on all of these guitars are down in the description if you want to go check out any more of them in depth. And if you go to Donner's website, which I'll also link down there in the description, or if you want to go to the description of the video of the one that you're interested in, it's all there. Use the code Flamingo at checkout, get 15% off of your order, and that's already if it's on sale. If you don't like any of these guitars, you like their pedals, use that code site-wide on whatever you like.
Big order, small order, does not matter. Take 15% off, code Flamingo at checkout. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again, Donner, for sponsoring this video and all of the other videos that you've done. I humbly thank you. Thank you guys very much for checking it out. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, check the links in the description, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.